Welcome to Magic Arcanum. I'm Ryan Gomez, and I'm so glad you're here because it is story time. Last week we talked about Vivian Reed and how her story was expressed through the cards in Core Set 2019. And in the comments on that video, somebody asked where they could learn more about the Magic story, so I supplied a link to the official website. But even that is kind of overwhelming, and it doesn't do a very good job of explaining where we are in the story right now. So I thought it'd be good to kind of help everyone out and just do a rundown on where exactly we are and what's going on with Ravnica. First, we have to talk about Nicol Bolas. He's what we call an Elder Dragon, and as you might guess, that means he's very old and very powerful, and he is currently the main bad guy for all of Magic the Gathering. His goals at the moment are unclear, but we do know lately he's been acquiring all the powerful artifacts he can get his hands on, and he's been directly or indirectly involved in sets for the last several years. On Ixalan, he used Vraska to pick up the Immortal Sun, a device that prevents planeswalkers from planeswalking. And on Kaladesh, he used Tezzeret to steal the Planar Bridge, a device that lets non-planeswalkers move from plane to plane. And on Amonkhet, he raised an army of Eternals. These are mummified warriors that are coated in a magical substance called Lazotep, makes them extra tough and durable, and very hard to kill a second time. So if you combine those three things, it means Nicol Bolas has an army that he can transport to any plane and then prevent anyone else from leaving that plane. This means he can pick where he's going to fight his opponents, and they won't be able to retreat. And for whatever reason, he's chosen Ravnica to be the battlefield, so let's take a closer look at it. Ravnica is one of Magic's most popular planes. It's already been home to 6 sets and had a guest appearance in Origins a couple years ago. The whole plane is one giant city, and life there is structured around 10 distinct guilds. Each guild represents 2 different colors of mana working together towards common goals. In the Guilds of Ravnica set, we got a closer look at 5 out of those 10 guilds, so let's talk about them real quick. We've got the Boros Legion in red and white, somewhere between a police force and an army. These guys enforce the peace on Ravnica at the street level. They're led by an angel named Aurelia, and they've also got this guy Tajik, who works with the Izzet League to develop new weapons and technologies with military applications. The Izzet League, that's our red and blue guild. These guys are a bunch of crazy experimenters and inventors. They also supply a lot of the infrastructure for Ravnica, so think of them like a utility company with a really big budget for research and development. They're currently led by a dragon named Niv-Mizzet, but he's being challenged for power by a planeswalker named Ralzeric, and we're going to come back to them in a minute. House Dimir is comprised of assassins, informants, and infiltrators. Being the black and blue guild, these guys love to control the flow of information, and they will kill anyone who gets in their way. A shapeshifter named Lazav has been calling the shots for House Dimir for quite a while now, and he has gotten wise to the fact that something is happening across Ravnica, although he hasn't figured out exactly what yet. Meanwhile, the Golgari Swarm takes care of things like corpse removal and farming. It's best if you don't think about that for too long. This black and green guild is all about the life and death cycle on Ravnica, and they get stuck doing a lot of the dirty jobs no one else wants. The Planeswalker Vraska is their leader right now, and if you don't know who that is, we covered her in a previous video, so you can go check that out. She's working for Nicol Bolas, at least until Jace comes along and unlocks her memories and hopefully gets her to flip sides. And if that's confusing, like I said, you should go watch the video, Who is Vraska, which I already did, so then you can have the whole story. So that leaves us with the Selesnya Conclave. On a plane that's one giant city, this green and white guild tries to preserve what little remains of the natural space. Their guild master is Tristani, who is a fusion of 3 dryads and represents their values of life, order, and harmony. They also have Amara Tandris, who's a close personal friend of Jace, and that could be relevant as we get further along in the story. All right, so Ravnica already has a ton of stuff going on. You've got all these different guilds trying to get along in a very crowded space. You have all these interested characters going about their lives. And then on top of that, we're about to drop this Elder Dragon with a zombie army. It'd be like if you're watching Game of Thrones and then Harry Potter shows up and starts dueling Voldemort at King's Landing. The whole thing is just kind of extra. But that's what's happening, and we can already see Nicol Bolas has some influence on Ravnica. We can see it playing out with the story spotlight cards from the set. We have to guess at the order, so first, I think, is Thousand Year Storm. Ralzeric is a planeswalker who works for the Izzet League, and he's been developing something called Project Lightning Bug. This is a detection grid for planeswalker activity. meaning he can tell when a new planeswalker arrives on Ravnica or when somebody leaves. He's been feeding this information to Nicol Bolas, presumably so he knows when it's the right time to spring his trap with the Immortal Sun. So this story card is our first indication that things are not really right on Ravnica and that outside forces are starting to influence what is taking place on the plane. This outsider influence does not go unnoticed, as we see in our next card, Guild Summit. This one depicts Isperia calling all the other guild leaders together for a little chat. She's the leader of the Azorius Senate, and we've seen her before on other cards from previous Ravnica sets, so we know she's no slouch. Unfortunately, the next card shows her fate in becoming an Assassin's Trophy. It seems Vraska used her powers of petrification to turn Isperia to stone, leaving the Azorius without a leader. Nicol Bolas clearly wants the guilds distracted and suspicious of each other. He's trying to upset the natural balance of things, and he wants to remove leaders and replace them with his own people. He's using Ral and Vraska to do exactly that. But he won't be unopposed. The fourth and final story card is Firemind's Research. This one has no flavor text, so you have to look a little closely at the art to understand what's going on here, but it shows Niv-Mizzet performing an experiment of some sorts that is creating an image of himself. Niv-Mizzet, as I said earlier, is the leader of the Izzet League, but he's got trouble in his own house because Ral Zarek is starting to move against him. So this card kind of gives me hope that Niv-Mizzet is preparing for the worst possible outcome, hopefully by trying to clone himself. Because there's no better ally in a fight against an Elder Dragon than several copies of the next most powerful dragon on all of Ravnica. There's one other card I want to mention, even though it's not an official story card, and that one is Sinister Sabotage. The flavor text in here comes from Lazav, the leader of House Dimir, and makes it clear he is aware something is going on that's affecting life on Ravnica. So this means by the end of Guilds of Ravnica, Nicol Bolas has both the Izzet League and Golgari Swarm pretty much under his control thanks to the planeswalkers he put there. The Boros, Dimir, and Selesnya guilds have avoided any infiltration, and they might be getting help from Niv-Mizzet. We'll find out more in January when we get Ravnica Allegiance, which is going to bring in 5 more guilds, probably with an even 3-2 split, so both sides are going to get more allies and more enemies. Whew, and that's where we are on Ravnica. I hope that helped, but if you still have questions, you can always leave them for me down in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer. Who knows, maybe you'll even kick off the next video. Make sure you like this one and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the great stories you'll only find here on Magic Arcanum. I'll see ya.